This is a screencast on how to create a chart using Google Sheets. A lot of you are getting ready to turn in charts and data for Science Fair, so I thought it might be a good idea to show you how you can make some really nice charts in Google Sheets with not with just your data, and it doesn't have to be difficult. So just go to your drive, and we're going to click on New, and it's going to be Google Sheets. Make sure you title your sheet with the year. It's always good to do that so you don't mix it up with anything else. Science Fair 2016. Now what I'm doing here is just a sample. It's an example. So you're going to have to use this and then take your data and create the chart, and you have the correct information from what you observed. So my example is just going to be plants growth. So for example, I had one plant that I watered over 6 weeks and measured how tall it was, and one plant that I didn't water over 6 weeks. So my data looks like this. So I have my weeks, and then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And over here I'm going to have plant A that I had watered. So plant A had water, and plant B did not have water. And I'm going to measure, I measured their heights in inches. So week 1, both plants were 2 inches. And in week 2, no water was 2 inches, but plants with water was about 2.5. So you need to make sure you know your decimals. 0.5 means half. Week 3 was some growth, and week 4 stayed about the same, and week 5 we had 3.5 and 2, and then the final week we had 4 and 1.5. So now I have my data. My data is all entered, and now I want to create my chart. So I'm going to highlight this, and we're going to insert chart, and it's probably going to look a little funky when we first see it. It looks pretty good. So for this type of data, when you're comparing, you can use a bar chart, which is this, or you can use a line chart. And these different recommendations show up to show you that for the data that you use, these are probably the best ideas, best charts for you to use. So you're going to decide on which one you want. And for this, I think I'll use this because it shows a good comparison. And now we're going to start customizing it. That means now we're going to start making it look the way we want it to look. So we're going to click on customization, and we're going to start at the top. So we need a new title. And for data, you want a very clear and very, very clear title. So you don't need to be fancy. It's just clear data what it is. So it's plant growth over time. And that's going to change. Now this is going to show up here when I click out of it. And you can change your color of your font. You can play with that here by clicking on this. If we wanted to go green, you could do that. Your font size, italics, however you want to do it. That's all for the title. And now the legend, which is over here. You can change the color of these charts, these bars, if you'd like. I'm going to stick with green, I think. I'm going to stick with blue for water and red without, because to me, blue represents water and red represents dry. And that shows up here. And now we're going to go down to our axis, our horizontal axis down here. So we already have a good title for that. The weeks is good. But these numbers are a little bit strange. So I really want those to show whole numbers because it's in weeks. So the way I'm going to do that, I'm going to leave this because I like that it's describing it. It's weeks, but I'm going to come down here and I'm going to put the minimum is you can play with it. You can do different numbers to see what it looks like. So let's start with 0, and then the maximum, let's say, is 7, and see how that changes your data. But see, now look at this. It's still not giving me what I want down there. So I can go back here and I can go to 1, And then I can come down here and I can change the amount of space in between each one. So if I did that, I could play with these grid lines and I could say auto and come back over here and give myself 6 weeks because that's how much data I had. And my number format is from my data, so I like that. We can undo this so you can just see how that works. You can keep playing with this. And then we can come back down here and we can say just give me 2, but we don't like that, so we can put it back to auto, and then we see all the data, but I'm still missing something here, right? So, because I have 2 pieces of data for each week except for number 6, so that means I might have to put a 7 up here. There we go, boom, got it. So now I have week 1 with both pieces of data, week 2 with both pieces of data, week 3, week 4, 5, and 6. And now I want to title this side so people know when they read it that this is plant growth in inches. So I'm going to scroll back up and I'm going to hit left vertical and I'm going to put a title there. So I'm going to put plant growth in inches. And again, we can change the color if we wanted. If we want to make that green to go with the top, I can do that. And we can do the same thing here that we did here. If we want to represent partial amounts, since we have partial amounts, so we can do 1 as the lowest, and we could do 5 if we wanted. This is a great place to play with the numbers just to see what your chart does. Okay, so we've got it looking the way we want it. We've got a title down here to represent these numbers. We've got a title here to represent these numbers. We've got our information labeled. Now, if I wanted to keep scrolling down and I really wanted to make this look kind of fancy, I could go here. Series means what's in your chart. So we can look at all columns, meaning all of it, and we can play with that a little bit. So we could put data labels on it, which means it's going to take the information from your chart and actually put it on here so you could see in week 1 both plants grew 2 inches, and in week 2 this is where each one was. That's kind of nice to have that. And you can do a trend line if you want, which means it's going to put a line and show you what the trend was for the blue. So for plants who got water, the trend was that it kept going up. And for the plants that didn't get water, the trend was there was no growth. It kept going down. That's what a trend line is. And you can play with this to see what it does, how it makes it look. Linear is usually the best one to use if you wanted to use that. You can do line thickness for that if you want to make those lines look a little thicker. That's where you change it. Line thickness means this line right here gets a little bit bolder and easier to see. Once you have it the way you want it, then you insert it. If you, just going back here really quick, if you wanted to make these darker, you could change this to 60%. The higher the percentage, the darker the line. So if this is how we want it, then we are going to insert it. And we can click and drag it over. And if we wanted to print it, the first thing we need to do is save it as an image on your desktop or wherever you will be able to find it. And then we just open it up. And there you go. You print it and you're ready to go. So I hope you find that helpful. If you need any additional help, let me know. Don't give up. Keep trying and keep playing with it because that's how you learn to really use it. Good luck, and I can't wait to see everybody's projects at the science fair.